Lamine Yamal does not deserve the Ballon d'Or. Let me say that one more time for the people at the back. Lamine Yamal 𝗗𝙗𝗫𝐵 does not deserve the Ballon d'Or. I'm not just saying this because it's a Barca, because he's a Barca and it's Barca PSG. No. I'm going and saying this. I will have stats. I will go and bring it up. For me, if you want to push a Barca player, I don't have a problem. For me, it's not Lamine Yamal. And I will look at this through two different lenses. Number one, comparing him to other Barca players, namely Raphinha and Pedri. And then number two, I'll be comparing him to who I think should be and logically should be the Ballon d'Or favorite, 𝐻𝐼𝐷 Dembele, but that's going to be the second half of the video. For starters, let me go and say that this is not an indictment on Lamine Yamal. I think Lamine Yamal has been absolutely fantastic. And for my opinion right now, if I had to say where I think he should be in the Ballon d'Or, I think he should be finishing top 5. So I'm not saying this guy is a fraud, that he's not good or anything. Lamine Yamal has been absolutely excellent this season. The talent that he has, the way when he picks up the ball, the sensations, the awe that he gets is undoubtable. However, from that to now go and push him and say that this guy is Ballon d'Or favorite, and to go and say that if he doesn't win the Ballon d'Or, that football's failed, that it's anti-football, for me is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But let me get on to, first and foremost, where all this stems. This primarily and basically fully stems from the recent Score 90 Ballon d'Or, I guess, rankings and frontrunners. Now, obviously, I know that Score 90 isn't the ultimate authority on, who should and shouldn't be winning the Ballon d'Or. I 100% get that. However, I think it is. Many people go and see it and say that, it's a good judge of how popular most people feel about it. And so based on their rankings, they've got Lamine Yamal at number 1, 𝐻𝐼𝐷 Dembele at number 2, Raphinha at number 3, Pedri at number 4, and Salah at number 5. And they've got their list, I think, up to the 30 or the 20 that, I'm not here to discuss on today, and maybe in a future video we'll go and do so, but this is our current top 5. And now, as I said previously, I'm going to be going and talking about the Lamine Yamal versus 𝐻𝐼𝐷 Dembele in a later segment, later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. I should have the timestamps down below. But let me go and compare first and foremost to his own fellow Barca players. As I said previously, it's not that I necessarily have an issue with a Barca player being pushed for the Ballon d'Or. If a Barca player would have won it, I don't necessarily have a problem. I'll maybe disagree and say that I think 𝐻𝐼𝐷 Dembele deserves it more. However, I don't necessarily have an issue with, a Barca player winning it. The only thing is that that Barca player should not be Lamine Yamal. Objectively, over the course of the season, Lamine Yamal should not be the best Barca player. And the reason I go and say that is strictly because a month ago, let's be honest here. Barca fans, be honest with me. I've spoken to Barca fans. I've seen what people were saying on social media. Guys, a month ago, prior to that Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid and prior to those 2 ties against Inter, Lamine Yamal was arguably not even top 3 Barca players for Ballon d'Or, because I was seeing that Raphinha pushes, I was seeing Pedri, heck, I was even seeing 𝐻𝐿𝑎 ahead of Yamal. Now, all of a sudden, after that Inter tie and that Copa del Rey, realistically, it's only really that Inter tie. All of a sudden, not only is Lamine Yamal number 1, the front runner, but he's ahead of Pedri and Raphinha, which I completely do not get. So let me remind people that the Ballon d'Or is about the best player over the course of the season, the 2024-2025 season, the entire season, not just the last month. We're not asking who's the best player in the world right now. That, I'll go and put my hands up. That's Lamine Yamal, 100%. You guys can clip it right now as I'm speaking. The 16th of May, 2025. At this very current moment, Lamine Yamal is the best player on the planet. The Ballon d'Or, though, is not the best player right now at the instantaneous moment of when the award is given out. It's given to the player who, over the course of the entire season, has been the best. And over the entire season, I am sorry to say, Lamine Yamal has not, for me at least, even been Barca's best player. And that is shown by the fact that I think most Barca fans a month ago weren't saying he was your best player. So how, in a single month, everything's changed? And if you guys want to go and use that push, well, then when I go into the Dembele stuff, be consistent with it. Because before, be honest, guys, the beginning half of the season, it was all Raphinha. Raphinha was getting the goals. He was getting the timely goals. He was scoring in important moments. Turn of the month, turn of the new year, end of December, so on and so forth. Then it was Pedri. The Pedri shots were going. The Pedri this, Pedri that, Pedri the maestro, all this stuff and that. And it's warranted. I have no problem with it. But Lamine Yamal, in all that time, was never in the conversation for number 1. He was maybe number 3. And in many people, I spoke to Robbie Lou. When we spoke together, he said that it was Pedri, Raphinha, and then he put 𝐻𝐿𝑎, and then after that, it was Lamine Yamal. What I do not get is how all of a sudden, after 2 great games, great performances against Inter, I'm not going to lie that, and great performances in the Copa del Rey final, and then the last Clásico once again this past weekend, how all of a sudden, based on that, and those things alone, now he's gone to number 1. I don't get it. You're going to have to make a good case for me how, in the span of 4 games, Lamine Yamal has gone from being 4th, if not 3rd best favorite in Barca's team, Barca's best player of the season, to now all of a sudden being number one for Barca and number one in the world. Make it make sense. I'm sorry, make it make sense. And as I said previously, if you guys want to go and push Pedri for Ballon d'Or because of how influential he's been to Barca, people saying he's been Barca's most important player, the MVP, the most valuable player in the team, I get it. I can push it, even though I would disagree. I think Dembele should still be ahead of him in the Ballon d'Or, but I can get that. If you guys want to go and push Raphinha because of the stats, because of the goals, the assists, the GA and everything, I get that as well. I completely understand he's been doing it consistently from the beginning of the season to this point as well. Maybe he had, a bit of a tail off last couple of months or so, but he's still there. But the Lamine Yamal push, and this sort of gets me on now to the Dembele stuff, is one of the biggest criticisms against Dembele from Barca fans that I've been hearing, and against fans all over the world, realistically speaking, is that, Dembele only really started doing this in January at the turn of the year in 2025. Well, guys, where was Lamine Yamal before 2025? Because, as I say again, in 2024, all this stuff, Lamine Yamal wasn't, I'm not saying he was, dropping stinkers or anything, but I wasn't hearing the pushes. I wasn't hearing Lamine Yamal generation. I was hearing, he was having, a good little season. He was doing well, but it wasn't anything crazy either. Let's be honest. Let's be 100% completely honest. And this gets me on to one of my biggest points, and my issue with this Lamine Yamal PR push is the fact that I'm going to say it. Sorry, guys, I'm going to be the one to go and say the controversial statement, but if Lamine Yamal was not 17, he would not be anywhere near this top 5 conversation. Guys, let's be honest. If Lamine Yamal was 25, 26 years old doing exactly what he's doing, scoring the amount of goals and doing all this, nowhere near the top 5 conversation. I think the fact of the age and how young he's been has boosted him. I'm not taking that away from him. It's been absolutely incredible. But guys, the Ballon d'Or, let me remind you guys, the criteria for the Ballon d'Or is number 1, individual performances and individual accolades. Number 2, team performances. So this team accolades, trophies, etc., so on and so forth, and fair play. All right, that fair play thing, well, unless you're smacking people left, right, and center on the pitch, you should be okay. But those are the 3 accolades. Those are the 3 main criteria for the Ballon d'Or. On that first one, in terms of personal, individual things, yes, Lamine Yamal passes the eye test. Yes, the skills, the dribbling, the feints, the body feints, they're all spectacular, etc., so on and so forth. But guys, in terms of the GA, Lamine Yamal's done great. Yes, he's got 40 GA, but he's behind Raphinha, and he's behind Dembele. He's behind even people like Harry Kane. He's behind people like Kylian Mbappe. The stats aren't there. And now all of a sudden, though, when I go and say, it's not just stats, football is not about stats, which I completely agree. I'm not denying that. It's about the aesthetic, so on and so forth. And if you guys want to go and diminish that from, say, a Salah or a Raphinha, I get it. But guys, going and saying that, Dembele does not pass the eye test? Guys, let's be serious. Let's be serious, because if you want to go and start showing the Dembele comps over the course of the season, they're crazy as well. If you want to go and say they're not necessarily at the level of a Lamine Yamal, fair. But they're there. They're fighting for each other. Dembele has had great performances on the eye test as well, eliminating defenders. We remember that City game where he megged Silva to go and smash the crossbar. Dembele's had great performances as well. On either side of the way, you want to go and say, what I'm going and saying, and what I'll show eventually here with stats, is that Ousmane Dembele this season is the best of a Raphinha in terms of the stats and the numbers and whatnot and scoring in big games, and of Lamine Yamal with the individual performance, the individual brilliance, the dribbling, the ability to eliminate your defender, etc., so on and so forth. He merged them both together, and for me, is the most complete player of the 3 of them. And why I think the PR push for him should be the one that's most warranted. Going back to how I said previously, I think the fact that he's 17, so on and so forth, and what I'm going and saying, and why this is why I believe this, and why people are going, and I would go and say, I'm sorry to go and say that, if you're going and saying, especially Lamine Yamal versus Ousmane Dembele, if you're purely pushing it, or a lot of the push for a Lamine Yamal versus Raphinha, for example, I think, I'm sorry, many of these people, it's aesthetic merchants, because if we're going and saying purely based off of talent, the best player in terms of individual quality with the ball, guys, Messi should have been winning, 15 Ballon d'Or straight. Sorry to Ronaldo fans out there, but in terms of individual talent, what you can do with the ball, should have been Messi. If not Messi, guys, when it was that 2014 to like 2020 era, guys, it should have been Neymar in terms of what you can do with the ball. I don't think surely there's not the debate there. If it's the case on purely individual talent, what you can do with the ball at your feet, the capacity to just aura farming basically in the course of the game, eliminating your defender, guys, it should have been Messi, who should have won like 15 Ballon d'Or straight, and Neymar from that 2014 maybe to 2020. Should have been only them. Sorry to Ronaldo fans. I know it's going to piss a lot of you off, but guys, let's be honest. But obviously, we realized that, Ronaldo had a great season where he's scoring 60, 70 goals over the course of the season, allowing his team to go and win big, major trophies, the Euros, the Champions League, the Nations League, all these things. And that's why he won the Ballon d'Or. And I would go and say, deservedly so. I don't have an issue with them. However, now all of a sudden, it's Ousmane Dembele, and now we're changing the rules. All of a sudden, no, it's not just stats. Now it's about how you cause other people to feel. It's like, be consistent. And it's the same thing also with Madrid fans, etc., so on and so forth. Why was somebody like a Vinny there last year. Let's be honest, guys, because Vinny last year, the beginning half of the season wasn't great. Was similar to, if you want, Dembele, and if not more, Dembele has had better stats than Vinny this year than Vinny had last year, and has been just as, if not more decisive in the final stages of the Champions League, where it really counts, and still has the possibility to do great things at the Club World Cup, Nations League, etc., so on and so forth. So if you push Vinny last year, I do not understand how you cannot therefore also be pushing someone like Dembele. And beyond that, to talk about the hypocrisy against PSG, I would go and say to a certain degree, has to do with the fact of, why is 𝐗𝙀𝗧 there? Why was Dani 𝐗𝙀𝗧 in the Ballon d'Or race? Guys, let's be honest. If I'm not mistaken, 𝐗𝙀𝗧 finished top 5. Be honest, in terms of the play, this is not to take anything away from Dani 𝐗𝙀𝗧. He's a great defender, a great right back, going to go down as one of the best. But guys, over the course of the season, when you turn on the telly, were you watching it for Dani 𝐗𝙀𝗧? No, one of the big reasons Dani 𝐗𝙀𝗧 was because of the team accolades. He won the Champions League, he won the Euros, and he won La Liga. That's one of the big reasons. It's not like when you watch the TV play, you thought, oh wow, Dani 𝐗𝙀𝗧, what a right back, Dare I say, I would go on to say that Hakimi this season is having a more complete season than 𝐗𝙀𝗧 was having last year for Real Madrid. Hakimi this year as a right back, same position, has had a more impressive season than Dani 𝐗𝙀𝗧. Yet, I'm not going to say that Hakimi should be finishing top 5 Ballon d'Or immediately just based off of that. Coming back once again to the goal contributions. If we go once again and compare in terms of 2025, because a lot of people I go and hear that, oh, the only reason Dembele's only been in 2025, etc., so on and so forth, etc. Okay, that's perfectly fine. What I would rebut to that though is not the latter part of the season, the most important half. It doesn't really matter if you stat pad from August all the way to, November. Why not? It's fine to go and stat pad in the group phases of the Champions League, at the beginning of the league. The crucial moments of the season are from February all the way on to May. That's when that's make or break time for a season. And that is the most crucial part. And that's where the big players really show their qualities and show who they really are. That's where they show their cojones. And if we go and look at that since 2025, here are the most decisive players in Europe for club and for country. So Ousmane Dembele is number 1 with 26 goals in 28 games. Kylian Mbappe is number 2 with 25 goals in 31 games. And then you have other people. One thing I'm going to go and say is, where's Raphinha? Where's Raphinha in this? Because one of the common criticisms against Ousmane Dembele is that, oh, he's able to do it. Yes, a lot of this stuff is only come in 2025 and that he was invisible in 2024. Okay, if Raphinha is all this great, where's Raphinha here? Couldn't I make the exact same case, the exact same argument against him? That yes, Raphinha was stop padding in the beginning of the season when, doesn't really mean all that much in the grand scheme of things. And now when it really matters in crunch time of the season, he's gone silent. Can I not make that exact same argument, the exact same case? Because this is what's going. If you go in here, I don't see Raphinha here. I see Isak, I see Robert Lewandowski, which people were pushing and not nearly as much now. Lucas Stassen, Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, all these players. But in 2025, I don't see any Raphinha here. Not one bit whatsoever. So be consistent. Once again here, if you want to go and look at who in terms of goals or how decisive you are per minute, Dembele is getting a goal contribution every 66 minutes. 66 minutes this season. I don't think people really cap that. 66 minutes this season. And it's not like you can, it's only the French league, etc. He's done it in the league. He's done it in the Champions League. He's done it everywhere. Compared to Raphinha, who's at 75, Lamine Yamal, who's at 107, and Lautaro Martinez, who's at 125. To comparison, for Lamine Yamal here, Lamine Yamal is, in terms of efficiency this season, is comparable to 𝙬𝙬 this season. 𝙬𝙬 this season, in terms of goal contributions per minute, has, I think, a goal contribution rate of a goal contribution every 109 minutes. So 2 minutes off of Lamine Yamal. So based on what the 2 minutes and Dembele nearly has double or at least 40% better efficiency in terms of goal contributions this season over Lamine Yamal. But no, be consistent. Just be consistent. If it's the stats, he's gotten beat on stats. I think there's no argument there. The next thing is I've heard stats aren't the only thing. Stats don't only matter. It's not just stat. Football isn't just about stats. Stat padding, all this stuff. And I agree. Football is not just about stats. It's also about what the emotions, the shot creating actions, dribbling, all this stuff. And I agree with you. And on that, I will go and say Lamine Yamal is number 1. But look, if we go and you look at Europe in terms of the players that are the most decisive, that cause the most differences, and this is shot creating actions, dribbling, going past your defender, shot creating actions, dangerous passing and whatnot. As we can see here, Lamine Yamal is number 1, with Michael Olise number 2, Ryan Cherki number 3, and big man Ousmane Dembele at number 4. So it's not like Lamine Yamal, yes, he's number 1, but Ousmane Dembele is right up there. So when people I go and hear that, oh, if Ousmane Dembele wins the Ballon d'Or, it's anti-football. Football's dead. Football say, guys, be serious. Guys, be serious. Be serious. Ousmane Dembele before, one of the big criticisms that a lot of Barca fans had, and a lot of fans in general had against him, is that he would do some absolute wonders for you on the wing. Eliminate people, this, that, and the other. Was one of the most effective dribblers, but that it was in front of goal where he'd, lose his head. Now all of a sudden we go and make it seem as though Dembele is this player with, 2 cement feet at his disposal. Guys, come on, be serious, be honest here. And going even beyond that, if we go and we look here at comparing Lamine Yamal, Raphinha, and Ousmane Dembele this season in terms of stats, we have progressive carries. Ousmane Dembele is number 1. If we look at dribbles, Lamine Yamal, yes, goes and beats him. Non-penalty XG, it's Ousmane Dembele at number 1. XG plus expected goals plus expected assists. Once again, it's Ousmane Dembele. Expected assists, you've got Dembele is last amongst 3 key passes. Lamine Yamal is ahead of Dembele is dead last. And shot creating actions, you've got Ousmane Dembele right behind Lamine Yamal. But overall, if we look at this diagram here, you go and you see that yes, in terms of if you have Lamine Yamal who's in blue, it's really going in terms of key passes, assists, shot creating actions, progressive carries, and dribbling. But in terms of goals, non-penalty goals, lags severely behind. Compare that to a Raphinha who doesn't necessarily have nearly as many assists or the progressive carries, etc., so on and so forth. But in terms of the goals, is right up there. Compare that to Ousmane Dembele, who's in yellow, has all of that. Dembele, of the 3 players, is the most complete this season. And based on that, how can you go and say that he doesn't deserve it? Not only does he passes the eye test, guys, let's be honest, he passes the eye test. That game against Manchester City, that first leg, even though we lost, PSG lost against Liverpool at home, that eye test, the way he was dribbling past McAllister, Robertson, all these players, he passed that as well. So you guys can't make him go and seem as though Dembele is some, fodder player that you can't dribble and is only their stat padding. And Dembele can also go and dribble. Guys, let's be serious. As can be seen explicitly here by the stats and can be seen by the stat here, and which looks at the players in Europe who have caused the most differences in terms of shot creating actions, dribbles, progressive carries, etc., so on and so forth. So you can't go and use that argument against Ousmane Dembele. And as I once said again, Lamine Yamal this season has 16 goals and 24 appearances in 4,283 minutes compared to Ousmane Dembele, who has 33 goals, 13 assists, and 3,000 minutes. So a difference of over 3,000 minutes we're talking about here. Over 1,000 minutes, pardon me. Yet Dembele has had better stats. And I already know, I've already anticipated a lot of people in the comments are going to come and go and say that, it doesn't matter. I've heard, people videos on TikTok going and saying that, why does it count Ousmane Dembele's goals in the Ligue 1, McDonald's League? Those shouldn't count. I'm sorry. First and foremost, the arrogance to go and say that, all of a sudden goals, when Ousmane Dembele is slapping goals against Brest, who, mind you, were in the Champions League, against Monaco, who, I mind, Barca fans specifically, beat you guys in the Champions League this season, Lille, who beat Real Madrid in the Champions League this season. Why don't those goals count? But when Lamine Yamal is yesterday scoring streamers against Espanyol, who are battling, who are fighting for relegation, all of a sudden those count. When he's getting crazy outside Trivela the boot passes against Real Valladolid, who are in the relegation zone, those count. But when Ousmane Dembele is scoring against Lille, Monaco, all these teams that were in the Champions League, those don't count. If you want to go and talk even beyond this, I'm going to go and say, I'm sorry, this is not necessarily an attack on Barca fans. In the Champions League, let's be honest, Barca's biggest and stiffest competition this year was Bayern Munich in the group phase when they beat them 4-1, and Inter Milan in terms of the big European juggernauts this season in the Champions League. Compare that to PSG, who in the group phase alone had to face Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester City. Then in the knockout stages had to face Liverpool. If we don't want, we're not going to count Aston Villa, Arsenal, and now about to face Inter as well. PSG have had stiffer opposition in the Champions League than Barcelona, and Dembele has been there, has started every single moment of the game. As I said previously, the Lamine Yamal push realistically only came in these last couple of weeks after his tremendous, once again, not to take anything away from Lamine Yamal, his tremendous, ridiculously impressive tie against Inter. But Ousmane Dembele was there as well. Let me remind you, Ousmane Dembele had more GA in the semifinal than Lamine Yamal in less games. Ousmane Dembele played the 90 against Arsenal away from home and played 30 minutes in the second leg for a combined total of 120 minutes. Lamine Yamal played the full 90 in the first game, full 90 in the second game, played all 30 minutes of the extra time for a combined total of 210 minutes, got a single goal. This is not to take anything away from his performance once again, but Ousmane Dembele in 120 minutes got a goal, he got an assist. Not to mention his team went through. So I don't understand how people are going and saying that, no, it shouldn't count. Dembele was there in big games. Dembele this season in 8 knockout stage Champions League game has only not been on the score sheet or on the stat sheet in the 2 games. Was the return leg against Brest in the playoff phase and the first game against Liverpool where PSG didn't score. And even in that game, he saw an excellent game personally. Bar that, Liverpool away, he scores. Aston Villa, at home gets an assist. Aston Villa away, he gets an assist. Arsenal at home, he scores. Arsenal away, he gets the assist for Hakimi's goal. So he's been there. So you can't even go and say that, no, in the big games, 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 has been there. And to show also the sort of, if I want to go and say the hypocrisy to a certain degree of Barca fans, is that when I go in and hear that, regardless of what 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 does in the Champions League final, regardless of what he does in the Champions League final, Lamine Yamal deserves the Ballon d'Or. That's why I'm going to say y'all are not serious. Because if Lamine Yamal, as I said again, and I will reiterate, based on his two excellent semi-final performances against Inter, goes from being what? Top 5 to #1 Ballon d'Or clear over a semi-final draw, which he lost. Yet if 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 goes and scores a hat-trick in a Champions League final for the first time in who knows how long and wins it for PSG on top of winning a treble, that does not put him #1, guys. You guys, I'm saying that's just a PSG agenda or an 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 agenda. At that point, the bias is, you're just being biased for the sake of being biased. You're all not being objective. Because if Lamine Yamal can go and get that much clout, that much PR over a great semifinal tie, and 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏, if he does the same thing, if not better, scores a hat trick, are saying no, he still doesn't deserve it, you guys are not objective. So I'm sorry to say, if at that point you guys go and push Lamine Yamal, you guys are aesthetic merchants and you guys are Barca shills. That's how I'm going and saying it. That's how I'm going and saying it. As I said, and as I finish off this video, I don't have an issue necessarily with a Barca player. If you guys want to push Raphinha, Pedri, I get it. Even though I still think that there's still stronger arguments for why I think 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 should finish ahead of them. But I can hear them. I can hear why you might want to push Raphinha, or why you want to push Pedri over him. I get that. But the Lamine Yamal is, because if you go and use the same arguments, you go and say Dembele has not been regular over the course of the season. He's wasn't really there. Same thing's gonna be applied to Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal didn't have an extraordinary start to the season. Y'all weren't pushing Lamine Yamal beginning of the season. Y'all weren't pushing Lamine Yamal 4 weeks ago. And all of a sudden he's #1. Not to psychoanalyze or trying to get into people's heads, so on and so forth. But I think some of this aspect is that it's #1, it's the crazy Barca PR that's out there. The crazy Barca PR that's out there. #2 is the anti-PSG, anti-French bias out there. Because when I go in and see people going and saying that, oh, Dembele's goals in the Ligue 1 McDonald's league don't count. When Lamine Yamal is scoring once again against Espanyol, Real Valladolid, Rayo Vallecano, those count. Guys, make it make sense. Guys, let's be serious. Make it make sense. And as I said again, in the Champions League, oh, he's only scored a couple goals in the Champions League. Guys, be honest. PSG has had way stiffer opposition in the Champions League than anything Barca has faced. Be honest. And if Dembele scores a hat trick against the same team that knocked out Barcelona, y'all are saying no, it still doesn't count. And the third thing is the fact that it's Dembele. Not only is he having to face the anti-PSG narrative around the world, the anti-French narrative around the world, the crazy Barca PR that exists, he's having to face the anti-Barca PR because it's 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 Dembele. I think it's fair to say that there is an aspect of, because 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 Dembele has left Barcelona, left Barca, knocked you guys out last year, and is a former Barca player and is doing excellent and is really coming to the fruition of his potential at PSG, I think still pisses off a lot of Barca fans, and is also one of the reasons why you guys can't accept that he wins the Ballon d'Or. I'm going and saying it like that. People want to go and get mad at me in the comments, go ahead, be mad at your pleasure. In my eyes, to conclude the video, Lamine Yamal does not deserve the Ballon d'Or. You guys can push Raphinha, you guys can push Pedri, I can get that, even though I'd still say that 𝐻𝙗𝐿𝐾𝙗𝘏 Dembele deserves it over them. But Lamine Yamal, this PR push is absolutely ridiculous. And on that, I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen. I know that a lot of people are going to comment, and I'm probably going to have to make a response video or another video, a reaction video, and I'm more than happy. If you guys want to go, be respectful in the comments, put your arguments, lay them out. I'll go and read them, and even maybe I'll go and make a response video to them in a longer response type videos. But guys, that's basically the end of the video. Thank you guys for going and listening. I'm looking here, we're at nearly 30 minutes of record time. So thank you for listening to me for all this time. And I already know that people are going to disagree with the comments, but once again, I implore you, please be respectful. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to leave a comment, like, and if you guys like this type of content, make sure to subscribe so that I know that I should make more of this type of reactionary, talking about more actual footballing news. But yeah, that's about it. And thank you very much. And remember, stay safe, stay kind, and stay blessed. Godspeed.